another strategy, another play from their playbook. Because, like we've been harping on, the early game roaming strategy doesn't work. Do they have a team fight composition? Do they have a siege composition? Do they have something else in their repertoire that they're ready to bring out and show they're capable of bringing out against the #1 seed from the entire Eastern region? Because they need to show it here.
Honestly, I could even see them maybe not banning away the Caitlyn. We saw that in game 1. Grab that first rotation for yourself. Get Psionics onto that so that you can set up the potential siege later on. Right now, it seems Braum and Sion are the priorities. Take away some of these tank frontliners.
I'm glad we're not seeing the triple AD carry ban from Ottawa. I think that would just be a little bit too far. Yes, you do have the blue side, so it's now on Western to ban kind of these Swain and Xayah picks as well as the Kai'Sa. So those kind of strong champions that are power picks usually on the red side is their little tax to ban. And the Vlad's actually taken away as well. So not banning these AD carries like Xayah and Caitlyn, leave up these bans for stuff like the Vlad that it kind of flew under the radar, but it had such a large impact in terms of the game, in terms of the pressure that it brought across the map.
So, typical Swain ban coming in from Western on the red side. Not too surprising there, but still, we saw so much focus on the AD carries in game 1. Not seeing a single one so far coming out of Ottawa. Maybe they're just saying they want to go for the strategy, get the Caitlyn, give up the Xayah, who cares, because Caitlyn into the Xayah with and Morgana in tow also does pretty well, but finally they answer and say no Xayah today.
And that's not just because you don't want Schwarhub playing Xayah, it's because it also, banning Xayah completely denies the Xayah Rakan combo as a duo. So it's not just entirely directed at Schwarhub, it's the very strong duo from that bot lane that they're worried about. So that ban alone, not with Caitlyn, makes a lot of sense still. And there's still stuff like that Kai'Sa available until it is just now banned. So it does look like Caitlyn is the highest priority one. They could always fall back to that Ezreal. It didn't do awful, but there wasn't really a point in that game where he had a situation that he could shine.
Exactly, I completely agree. He sure was doing all right, but never dominating, and that's kind of what you have to do into a Jinx. You always got to make sure that you're the one ahead, especially when you have Kleptomancy. But it is going to be Psionics grabbing the Caitlyn, looking for the potential siege composition we were just talking about.
And that makes a lot of sense. No jungler bans as well, so the teams don't necessarily have to pick them here. I would imagine Western would like to get their AD carry in the first phase. Now that Caitlyn and Xayah are off the table, they have the opportunity to go back to that Jinx. So this Caitlyn first pick also kind of acts as a ban similarly to last game for the side of Ottawa, so they don't actually kind of need it. They still are locked into that Jinx or tier 2 for short hop, and they need to pick something in this first phase to go along with this Morgana in the bot lane.
I love the Morgana takeaway from Western. You never want to give over the Caitlyn Morgana bot lane. So
Right.
dominating. The moment a Dark Binding lands, right into the trap, headshot after headshot. It's gonna go right through any health bar if Short Hop or Blaze thought they had one before. So I want to see. It's gonna be, ooh, this is an interesting change. Not Jinx this time, but the Ashe coming in for Short Hop.
And they're mixing it up a bit. You don't really want to play Jinx against Ez Karma, but you definitely don't want to play Jinx against Kate Karma. So in an effort to get out of that lane, Ashe Morgana, Ashe is someone that does pretty decently into the Caitlyn because you have that large range compared to other AD carries. It's at 600 for Ashe at the start of the game and through all of it, actually. But with the Morgana also does pretty well, has the volley to spam out. And that is the Trundle that is going to be picked up along with the Taliyah from last game. So Trundle was banned, Taliyah a staple in the mid lane, something open backpack is extremely comfortable on.
But always taking it so early into the draft, this Taliyah makes it so that there's potential for Chimona to counterpick it. We saw the Vladimir in that last game really make sure to shut down that roam potential that open backpack has. Galio is left open as well, and you mentioned before that Chimona has played this consistently. So I almost wonder if that's something they want to go for, as Singe will get locked in for Epic.
Singe was something in the second phase bans that they didn't really want Epic being able to play, and this time he's going to get it. But there still has the opportunity for Ottawa to pick a top laner of choice. However, given the fact that they counterpicked Shen to the Gnar last game, I'm not sure they're willing to play that much besides tanks into it, so that is why they don't really want to play up against the Singed.
And the Gnar coming in as a ban definitely does very well into Singe, so not too surprised. Though I will ask, could we see a Camille coming in? Try to make sure there's no way that Epic can go for these roam potentials or go for the proxies that you sometimes see Singe go for. Instead, force him into the lane to fight with a bruiser.
If Jochen plays it, then yes. If he doesn't, which seems to... I mean, this will be very telling whether or not he plays something like the Camille, then we'll probably not see it. However, I do want to see the Galio come out for potentially Chimona here, because it does very well into that Talia. What you can do is just every time the Weaver's Wall is brought out, just use that heroic entrance into the bot lane and you'll be just fine, especially since you have 2 more mobiles in the Ashe Morgana. The Talia wall is still a very big threat from the side of open backpack. So if they can kind of negate it here with a Galio pick, which is currently on the table still, that would be a great opportunity. However, they would need a more damage-oriented jungler in their composition to go for that.
We see Zach already banned. Almost wonder if it's going to be the Sejuani. Maybe the Olaf, though Olaf doesn't do so well into the Trundle matchup. Instead, will be the Skarner, making sure that Julius can't run people down. Kind of surprised, because Trundle does pretty well into the Predator-type junglers as well. But I want to sweep that front line if they're going to have any sort of damage. They need some sort of AP. I mean, Galio, sure, he builds in more of an AP fashion nowadays, but he's more acting like that front line tank to absorb a lot of damage. Karma coming in from Chimona, give a little bit more movement speed, maybe to the Singed.
But this is such a low damage composition. The Karma is also great as a takeaway from this potential Karma that Digital Lotus would like to play with the Caitlyn. He already went for it last game with the Ezreal lane, so they know it's something that he's willing to play. This takeaway means the Caitlyn Karma lane is not an opportunity, is not available. They cannot really bully out this Ashe Morgana lane as much as they would have liked to, but you can be excited, Magical, because here's the Camille locked in for Jokin.
I actually even went through my stats to look at it, and Jokin has a couple games on the Camille. Not too many, just a couple here and there. And I think it's got a 1-1 record from what I was able to see, so it's all right. I definitely want to see how he's going to be able to play this into the Singed matchup. Got to play pretty careful, because Singed can easily take you down lower than you'd truly expect. Is Janna going to be what rounds out the composition for Ottawa with this Caitlyn?
Yeah, not as oppressive as something like the Karma or Lulu as a support coupled with the Caitlyn. However, I'm really going to be watching what jungler they actually pick here for Western, because they need some damage. They don't really have as much as scaling damage in the top or mid lane role. So if they pick something like this tank Sejuani, they would have a lot of kind of need to succeed in this early to mid game. The Jax is something that provides a lot more damage, and when you have the Karma to speed him up, that makes a whole lot of sense. Coupled with all of this CC coming out from the Ashe and Morgana, all this lockdown, Jax will have an opportunity to get a lot of damage down, even though it's a pick that we've seen falling quite a bit off in the meta.
It's something that's fallen off in the meta for sure, but at the same time, Julius has loved playing this, especially paired up with Singed. They played this against, just checking my stats, against Horizon. They played this against New York. So this is something that they are confident in drafting. They feel that they understand this. Even in 8.6, 8.7, doesn't matter. This is what they want to do with their draft, even though it will be more of that tank Zach that we kind of saw in the jungle a couple patches ago.
But now we need to look back at the Ottawa composition. Did they adapt like we really wanted them to? They still have this blind Talia pick. They still have a tanky jungler. And they still have an early game focused bot lane. Yes, they took away the Caitlyn. This Camille is going to have a lot to say about whether this composition is a success or a failure, because keeping that Singed down will be very important, because Talia, Caitlyn, you don't really have a lot that can interrupt this Singed from just running you down and flipping you into his team.
I mean, the only thing really is going to be the walls coming in from Talia, which you don't really want to burn a Weaver's Wall just to cut off a Singed every single time.
You really don't.
And the pillars, I guess, from Harry Sixpack will be also a testament of how you can interact with the Singed, because Predator is usually what you draft the Trundle into, but I guess it works just as effectively into the Singed too.
But this is also a different shade of composition that we're seeing from Western. It's not so much on their mid and AD carry to kind of deal with the DPS scale up and become late game monsters. There's no Vladimir, there's no Jinx. They decided that against the bot lane that Ottawa have put together, it's finally strong enough to discourage these healing pick. They go for Ashe, they go for Karma. They go for more supportive champions in their carry roles, and this really opens the floor for Julius and Epic to shine in their roles.
A lot of pick coming in as well from Western. Ashe, Morgana, then the damage that you can come in from just a regular Karma Q, not to talk about the Mantra Q as well. A lot coming in from Western that is different, but at the same time, it has so many avenues to carry when you land one great arrow, one great Dark Binding.
Yeah, and if this composition fails for Ottawa and Western takes this game, this series is going to be looking very bleak. They would have to reverse sweep, and Western would have shown at that point that anyone on this team is capable of running away with the game in this matchup, as well as the fact that Ottawa would have run a similar early game focused composition both times with a lot of their comfort champions and not really been able to get a lot done. So Ottawa, there's so much riding, so much pressure on this game for them to succeed and perform against Western, because if they don't, it will probably be the end of the series.
And I really want to see how is going to be able to perform in the top side of the map. This Camille into Singe, it's not a matchup you got to talk about too often. It's something where Camille usually gets banned and Singe not seen too often in the current meta. It honestly can take over the game.
Singe is definitely a more kind of niche champion that good Singe players are great on the champion, and then if you don't play Singe, you're probably not great at him. You probably don't have a ton of experience on him. But top laners that play Singe, they like to play in a team environment, and that means that how Western play around this champion as a team will have a lot to do with how successful it is. It's not really just a one-person Singed mentality. You're not on your own. Even though he is annoying, and in solo queue he is picked for very selfish reasons where you just proxy the entire way and have fun against your laner, he has a lot of opportunity to have a huge part in the macro game for Western, and all that lane assignments that he can do and screw up all the minion waves. You can play around that quite well, and he can also disrupt a lot in the team fight and one-on-one.
And before we load up into the game, just going to do some quick overviews. Make sure that we get some plugs. Make sure to type in !Discord if you want to join the Discord and be able to talk about all things collegiate. You can also follow us on Twitter at C-Star League, or if you want just League of Legends news, it's going to be CSLoL, so you can keep up to date with that. Same goes for Facebook. You can go over there, check out C-Star League. Make sure you go to our YouTube. If you can't check any of these games out live, you can always watch the VODs. You can watch anything there. It's going to be C-Star League on YouTube, so you can make sure to go hit subscribe over there. Watch those games later on, even if you just want to kind of get an idea of how you want to play your future games. I always recommend going for that.
For sure. Good job, man.
I'll save the Twitch one for the next game. We'll do that next game, because now, game number 2 is about to start. Eastern Finals. This is exciting. Western already sitting up 1-0. Different composition. Same team. They want to see if they can go to a 2-0 lead. But Ottawa, they have to feel defiant. They have to show up now. Or like you said before, it could all fall apart so quickly.
Yeah, we are seeing the cleanse on open backpack this time on this Leah. It makes a lot of sense when you look at the bot lane for Western. There's not a lot of utility coming out from the Singe Jax Karma. There's a lot of teamfight help in those champions, but there's not really a lot of hard CC. What you're really picking the cleanse for is you're worried about that bot lane rolling up to kill you, and you can also get out of Julius's Jax ganks from that stun a little bit easier. So sometimes we've even been seeing 80 carries taking cleanse. I think this might have been an opportunity for Psyonix to do that, just given the lane he's playing against right now.
Well, look at Digital Lotus. I mean, he's got cleanse.
Right, and that's something on supports we've been seeing taken a lot more instead of the Ignite as well. However, I do think Ignite would have been helpful in this Caitlyn Janna lane, because when you're playing these kind of aggressive Caitlyn and range support duos, oftentimes you're banking on getting a lane advantage, and if they don't have an advantage on this Talia Caitlyn, it's just going to be like game 1 in that mid game where Caitlyn has a huge dip in her power.
This is where you can tell the difference between the two teams. Ottawa trying to play very safe. They want to see if they can scale up a little bit more. They do have great siege potential. Talia, Caitlyn, great at wave clearing. But they have to get there. They cannot get picked off, because there's so much room for that coming in from Western. One good Dark Binding, one good arrow that could shut down the momentum of Ottawa.
Absolutely, and I'm really going to be watching this bot lane, because as we see both junglers start up in the top lane once again, trying to get down to the bot lane as soon as possible to influence it. Trundle can have pretty effective ganks with that pillar. He usually burns a flash rather than just getting a kill, but Jax has that stun, so if you have the damage in the burst to bring down some kills, you are able to do it in that early game, but Trundle's probably a more reliable flash.
Top lane. Dorn's Blade, started by Jokin, into Epic. Sometimes you do see that trying to get a little bit more damage, but definitely got to be careful. Don't want to get taken too low by the poison coming in from Epic.
Epic already going for that flip into the poison trail. Jokin's taking a decent amount of damage, already has to that pot, whereas Epic still has a charge on that refillable with the Dark Seal. So that's a very effective healing method right there. If he teleports, he can come right back into the lane with a lot more healing to go, whereas Jokin has to spend more and more cash on those wards, on those health potions. And that detracts from the item scaling that you really, really need on Camille into these kind of carry-on-carry matchups.
Kind of surprised to see the Doran's Blade start for that reason. Almost expected to see the shield just to make sure that you can survive this lane a little bit more. Don't want to get taken so low and forced to use key summoners. You're getting flipped around, tossed by Epic.
He just wants to get the cannon minion that's worth so much more, and he actually doesn't get it, but here's a gank.
But here's the gank. Epic, I don't think he's going to be able to survive this one anytime soon. Stopped by the pillar. And first blood for Harry Sixpack.
That's really big because it looks like Camille was not having a fun time, but Epic was just getting a little bit too aggressive. He couldn't afford to get up that far. And you saw he was trying to flash down into the blue side jungle, actually, but the pillar cut him off. He was not able to make that one happen under the turret this time. And unfortunately, the kill doesn't go off over to Camille, but Trundle having that extra kill will help him match up with Jax in that skilling department once the farm game comes through in the mid game.
Completely agreeing. A nice turnaround, but we saw something almost similar happen in the first game for Ottawa, where they were able to get the first kill. They got themselves a nice little lead, especially in a lane where it was looking kind of dire. But just a couple mistakes early into the game threw a lot of that momentum right back over to Western.
Although I do think that this successful gank onto the Singed was more reliable a lead than the almost lucky kill Talia got onto Julius's Olaf in the last game. So hopefully they're going to have a little bit more of an inkling on how to not throw away this lead and kind of transition it into a bit of a snowball, with Camille having some CS advantage. Although the wave is pushing, this does give over some control into the top side. That means if you get the wave push on Camille, you can easily run down into that mid lane or invade the jungle, lock them down with that Hextech ultimatum, and get your carry sticks all up for the kill.
Topside Epic, because he died so early, only was able to get the Corrupting Pot. Not necessarily the greatest thing for him. An attempted gank coming in from Harry Sixpack in the mid lane. Jokin, you gotta be careful. Don't want to take this tower for too long, though. The damage from the press, the attack, was able to do so much in bot lane. Heal forced out by Psionics. Almost an attempted dive coming in from Short Hop. That's the volley with the Ignite Cleanse Burn by Digital Lotus.
This is really not what you want to be seeing when you're picking this Caitlyn Jamo lane. You want to be seeing a lead. You want to be seeing tower pressure, but instead it's the complete opposite. Short Hop and Blaze Nova have their number this time around. Picking the Ashe definitely allows you to compete against that Caitlyn early game if you have the mechanics, and it looks like they do this time around.
Plus, Janna, not necessarily the greatest for trying to get lane dominance, lane priority. Even if you pair that up with a Caitlyn, so hard. She steps up. She had to burn Cleanse just to get rid of the Ignite.
Right, and it's really hard to kind of express your skill on Janna in the early game because you just really want to shield that Caitlyn and help her out with her trades. It's kind of hard to actually interrupt anything, and if you try and use the Tornado, you're met with the Black Shield from Blaze Nova. So instead, it's a lot more on how Psionics uses his CSing and range management pattern to try and last hit all those minions while balancing that out with trades and poke on the Short Hop. This time, it didn't look like they were able to get anything, and it's going to be a 5 CS lead over to the Ashe. That's really great for Western.
It's a little bit something, and you can tell that from the items. BF back for Short Hop compared to just the pickaxe from Psionics. So we already thought the lane was going towards Western. Expect it to be a little bit more scary for Psionics if he gets himself caught out by the
Here comes Jax.
Jax in the background, lots of damage, flash burn, but they get the tornado, the knockup, flash with the counter strike. That's Psionics going down, giving a kill to Western.
But in the mid lane,
in the mid lane, it is Chimona getting ganked. Here comes the Weaver's Wall. Press the attack, doing damage onto Chimona, and that's going to be the chomp to finish off the kill. And Harry Sixpack doing a great job on the Trundle this game.
so it is a 1-for-1 across the map, but 2 of the kills are now on Harry Sixpack, who's just going to be now invading this jungle. Taking away the red buff from Julius is pretty annoying for the Jax. But on the other hand, Digital Lotus now trying to defend this turret. It helps that you can shield it, but man, it really hurts that Caitlyn died again.
And then top side, a little bit more fighting coming in back and forth from Epic and Jokin. There's even a potential 3-man dive, looking to see if they can get onto the Singed. There's no Weaver's Wall, though, for open backpack. They have cut off the path And here's Julius in the area, so maybe seeing a bit of a counter. Said it's going to be a little bit more aggression from Jokin. Here comes the ultimatum on to Epic. A lot of damage back and forth, and Julius gets himself caught out on the other side. Has to jump over the wall to Timona. 3 men here. That's the flip. Coming in with the damage. No more mana. Now this is very messy. Ottawa still are here to fight.
And no one's on the same page. Harry Sixpack's getting caught.
Yeah, he's getting caught, and here comes Julius.
Or is he?
Level 6 just yet. That's a 2-man counter-strike. Gotta be careful. Taking low. Pillar to throw him back. Shamona, can you be able to get the tether down in time? The seismic
Digital
jump.
Lotus.
Bot lane. Digital Lotus sniped out from the close range 360 no-scope of Short Hop.
His bot lane's getting smashed, but look at topside still. Harry Sixpack is running for his life with open backpack. Can they get out of here?
No mana for open backpack, so you gotta be careful. Flip comes back, and Harry Sixpack has been shut down. Epic is not afraid. Jokin wants to jump on, but he's gotta be careful. Does he have the damage? The tactical sweep will sweep out Singe. What a messy first couple minutes, well, 8 couple minutes of this game.
But we have to look at where the advantages actually are, because we have 2 kills on the Camille and Trundle for Ottawa. However, the bot lane is just so far ahead right now for Western, and that could make all the difference, because Caitlyn, you want to have... Oh, wait a minute.
Blaze, I don't know what you're expecting there. That was a little bit greedy. He thought he had the Dark Binding, but it was a good tactical net coming in from Psionics.
Right, but still, this Caitlyn didn't get the kill, so there's not going to be any additional items coming through on this champion. The Ashe is just going to have more utility and more damage than the Caitlyn after this lane phase, and it's just picking up those Berserker Greaves now as well. It's going to be interesting. With the BF Sword having enough cash to pick that up, you can opt into either the Essence Reaver or the Infinity Edge. So Short Hop has the choice to do that. He is also going to pick up the Cole, signaling he wants to stay in this lane. That's
very interesting, and now Julius has to ward hop, doesn't want to fight against Harry Sixpack. Anytime he's done that, hasn't really gone so well, especially for the entirety of Western. Harry Sixpack has been doing a great job in this Trundle, trying to get pressure, and it's helped out Jokin in this top lane to be a little bit more impactful into Epic.
Right, this lane can be really dicey in the 1v1 for Camille, but those extra 2 kills, and now Trundle's coming up for potentially another kill on Epic.
Yeah, he's gonna cut off the path. Here comes the jump in with the ultimatum pillar to slow down the movement. Sliced down. Jokin's now on a killing spree.
And 0-3 now for Epic Singe that we were all looking forward to. However, it is Singed. It does not really matter if you are 0-10, because you can still be useful in terms of kind of messing up the enemy waves, as well as just flipping high priority targets in teamfights into your team. But he's not going to really have much more of a chance in this lane with 3 kills going over to Camille. And now he's going to have to teleport back because they're pressuring his turret. Will this even be able to be defended?
I think it's going to go down, but the one great thing is bot lane already went down first, so his team gets first brick gold. He delays a little bit. There's no further push. Low mana and health bars. I think he might be able to fight back. That's going to be the glue thrown down. He wants to keep going for the chase. Great pillar from Harry Sixpack, so should expect these two to get out of dodge unless they collapse by Timona. Even though open backpack is in the area, and finally it seems Western will back off. I think it's still the upper hand to Western, taking the first brick gold, and now the Cloud Drake.
Right, it's still a very small lead, but it's in an area that will likely matter a bit more as the game goes on, just because you really want your 80 carries ahead in the current meta. However, there are 3 kills on the Camille and 2 in the Trundle. They need to push this before Camille kind of falls off in the team fights. You're always going to have that split push ability, but Singe will scale up with those tank items and make it very hard for Camille to actually accomplish that goal. You really want to get out of this top lane and start making plays with your ultimatum to try and help out this bot lane, because they really need it.
Arrow coming in from Short Hop, just a little bit off from the target. That probably would have been another kill, and talk about helping out this bot lane, not going to look too well. Chimona just away from the pillar. Seems like he wants to kind of fight, just delay as long as he can for Ottawa, so they're not getting too much.
In open backpacks, Talia has looked passable, but definitely not great. He's missed a lot of these seismic shoves into the Unraveled Earth combo, and he also hasn't had any great uses of the Weaver's Wall. He used the first one on that gank to finish off the Karma kill, but your bot lane is getting destroyed, and you have a Talia mid lane with the Camille that's so far ahead and teleport available. You really need to start doing stuff to try and help them out. Otherwise, this pick is just not as good as other mid laners in the meta.
Yeah, but still got to give a lot of credit over to Ottawa. They have some good avenues to be able to get ahead jungler is ahead. Top lane, massively ahead. So they can start playing around this, start trying to see if they can set up some sort of split pushes, because even a Trundle is really good in a side wave with how quickly he can take down these towers.
Yeah, but will the jungler really have the ability to be split pushing when there's objectives like the Rift Herald and eventually that Baron on the map? You need that Smite around, because last game we saw Western wasn't able to take the Baron because they didn't have Smite on Julius to actually secure that one. So having your jungler around the objectives is very important. It's going to have to be a lot on Jokin. It's his responsibility to keep up the split push game, because Camille scales so well when she has the chance to split push, but does not scale well in team fights when you have supports that can easily shield for thousands of health and heal and cleanse. Now Harry Sixpack also getting caught out. Open backpack.
Flash away, and Open Backpack's by himself, had to flash. Still has cleanse burn, but here comes the attempted fight. Jokin right into the thick of things, onto the backline, onto Julius as he slices him down for the rampage. They are not done. Ultimatum onto Short Hop, not hitting the seismic shove, but it doesn't matter because Psionics finally finish off one more kill. Blaze nowhere to run, and the unstoppable Camille is running rapid over this map.
Finally, the Camille gets into a team fight where the bot lane is there, and they win it. They win it very hard because they corral Western into their own jungle. No escape for them. Chimona and Epic nowhere to be found, unable to help out. No mana on the Karma. They just run them down. Camille finds 2 more kills. They get one on Psionics finally. And Open Backpack 006, a little bit sketchy there with the Weaver's Wall, but wisely flashes over it and boxes them in. That's why they had to run into the jungle. So all the pieces fall together for Ottawa. They pick up the Rift Herald, but they still have to snowball this game.
This is still a much better showing coming in from Ottawa. This is what we wanted to see out of them this game, how they can turn it around, try to punish a little bit more of that pick utility type composition of Western. They're fighting them better. They're going a little bit more aggressive, especially Jokin. 5-0-2, Triforce completed with a Tiamat as well.
That is so big right now for the Camille. So scary too. But you have to keep making plays, right? If you don't keep making plays, this Ashe has the ability to just take over the game with her arrows. There hasn't been a ton landing right now. It's mostly been in that 2v2 bot lane getting kills. But the Talia doesn't have flash, doesn't have cleanse, doesn't have mobility. If you can find time to get into the side lane like Short Hop is right now against the Talia with his support, you can easily get a kill. You just have to worry about, is the Camille, is the Trundle there? Because if they are, you're in trouble.
Interesting. Looking at a lot of these builds, just doing check-ins, looking at Epic. He's got the Rallies Crystal Scepter, which is nice for trying to kite around. But Jokin's got to prove that he's not easy to kite. You can't really escape this Camille. He'll just trap you in the box, try to constantly fight just like that, getting so much poke and forcing out the Insanity Potion. Here comes Harry Sixpack cutting off the path. They might be able to dodge us away. Jokin, you bit off more than you can chew in the shutdown for Epic.
Solo kill too, so that's going to be a lot of gold going over to him. And where's Trundle going to go? He's trying to run around back to his team. He's pushing the mid lane, but Julius is behind them too.
Julius got to be careful. Arrow not going to connect onto anybody. Not even getting the counter strike. Comes a wall, but he jumps over the wall with an easy ward. And now Epic with Simona onto Harry Sixpack. He got himself the subjugate, got himself the stats to pad and get Epic, but Julius jumps onto Open Backpack. He might trade his own life unless the counter strike into the dark binding lands right onto Psionics. Nowhere you can go. Short Hop easily takes him down. Harry Sixpack, you're gonna join him in the grave, and Western somehow get the messy fight. They win it, and they should be able to take down the tower.
Right there, Open Backpack and Psionics were caught out with nowhere to go, and that's kind of where you see the power of the Singed, who can just run you down at all times if you don't have turrets and tank lines to fall back to. So they just got completely run down and destroyed. And as soon as Psionics got hit by that Dark Binding, it was currents for him. It looked so good. He was hitting a low health Julius. But then once he got bound up, he just died in less than a second, honestly. So not what you would like to see from Ottawa when we wanted them to push their lead. They go from a 1,000 lead to a 2,000 goal deficit, so a 3,000 swing at all said and done. And a lot of that is on the carries. You have 2 on Jax, 2 on Karma, 2 on Ashe, and they're going to keep getting their items. Infinity Edge now done for Ashe, so a little bit scary here.
I think this just goes back to what we saw in Game 1, where it's a lead carved out by Ottawa, but mistakes coming in, where honestly, there's no reason for Jokin to be that aggressive onto Epic. He took the tower for so long and was locked down under that objective where he gave over a free kill.
TK behind right here.
This is where they can start trying to push their advantage, but Yokin's not here in the fight either, and Psyonix has jumped on once again, arrow landing onto the Trundle. Got subjugated to himself a little bit alive, trying to run away, but it's not enough to out-duel and out-trade with Short Hop. There's 3 members of Ottawa stricken down, and the Cloud Drake given up.
A Cloud Drake is not worth this magical. You can't just start this, not realize the teleport's coming behind when your team is completely split. What are you without this Camille right now? And Ottawa's just falling apart at the seams. What do they do from here?
They have to fight. That's what I'd assume, at least, right, Shadow? It's just going...
They have to use the Camille, but they're starting Cloud Drakes without the Camille and just... so much. There's nothing that the rest of this team can do without the lead on the Camille because everyone else, all their counterparts are ahead and making plays. Epic has 4 deaths, but who cares? He's singed. And now we're seeing 2 inner turrets taken by Western. Not quite the mid lane one, actually, but it's still a very strong showing from Western after their deficit in the early game.
And they just skyrocket that lead up to 3,500 now. Actually, no, sorry, it's 4,500, my bad. Going quite ahead of Ottawa in just the matter of a couple minutes.
And this is the power of Western. They don't seem to really have a concern with winning the early game with styling on their lane opponents. They're perfectly happy to just play the lane out. We saw Short Hop and Blaze Nova did a phenomenal job with that Ashe Morgana matchup into the very strong in lane Caitlyn. They did a great job. And everyone else played their part. It's not like Chimona has really overstepped in any way on this Karma. Perfectly happy to just match lane pressure. And he has an XP lead on Open Backpack just because Open Backpack has been everywhere trying to roam and make plays, but he has just been content. All of Western has been content with farming out this early game, knowing they are the better team once these fights roll around.
Open Backpack jumped on by Julius, but now the bot lane as well, trading back and forth. Epic very happy with trading in to Yokin at this point, despite being down. Well, no, not now. He's now tied in levels. He was down a level just a minute ago. Still not doing too bad. He's got himself some armor as well. So this is where the Singe starts getting really scary in these split push scenarios.
They commit the ultimatum on the Singed.
Yeah, that's a lot burned onto the Singe and a lot of time. He threw them out, so he's still running away. No pillar off cooldown just yet from Harry Six. And they don't kill Epic either. He completely escapes from so much burn by Ottawa.
So much burn, so much time wasted. You need the ultimatum. You need that subjugate from the Trundle. They don't have either of them. How are they going to win a fight around this Baron with so many members bot side? That's a free outer turret for Western right now. We're going to have to see if they can hold mid, but I think with Karma Wave there, they'll be just fine.
They should be. There should be at least a little bit of damage traded back by Psyonix onto that tower, but I don't think they want to overcommit. They don't want to get pinched, even though the teleport isn't there for Epic. He's pretty fast on that Singe. Got the Righteous Glory completed.
That's scary stuff, and now that the Camille can't really chase down and kill that Singed by herself or with Harry Six Trundle in a 2v1, really, where do you go from here? You have to try and group with your team to find isolated picks with that ultimate, but it's not been something that they've been able to do yet this game. And they're down 5,000-6,000 gold with the only shining light being Yokin's Camille. We were wondering if he could play it. It looks like he can in the individual aspect with help from his jungler, but they don't really have the ability to snowball into a win yet as a team.
Epic fighting with Yokin once again. Righteous Glory was popped just to slow down Yokin. I wonder if he was trying to get a little bit more in the ways of cooldowns out of the Camille. But still, gotta be careful. Now that you don't have that, you're not gonna have as much movement speed into these fights, at least for quite some time.
Ottawa's trying their best to hold on and not forfeit all of this Baron vision control. And pretty nice Mantra Q damage from the side of Chimona. He's had such a large amount of free time to just scale up on this Karma. You see he went for the Luden, but actually opted into that Athene second item. He's much more supportive. He has the heals at the ready for Julius, for Short Hop. Even Epic, he can seed him up, heal him. If he has to be that front lane that they need, teleporting in and soaking up all the damage, he's going to be able to do that because he has Chimona as such a strong support, Blaze Nova as well. So many shields on this lineup, and without any damage being ahead for Ottawa, it's going to be so hard for them.
I mean, I just want to turn our attention really quick to Psyonix and Short Hop, the disparity between these two AD carries, where we were expecting to see much more of a top-oriented fight coming in from Western, but Short Hop so far ahead. 2,000 gold separates.
Without any help, really.
Exactly, and that's absurd.
Yeah. and we are going to be going into a pause, but they just did such a great job in this 2v2 lane. They have Infinity Edge Rune. That's the Ashe core right there, working towards another Zeal item. Interestingly enough, sometimes you see the Essence Reaver paired with that duo, but it looks like they're not really concerned with firing out these arrows. They haven't been looking for the picks too much. They're more worried about the team fight, and that's where that Infinity Edge and Runons comes into play, is when you have these tanky targets that you can focus down and burst, like the Trundle, who's you're going to be trying to kite back on as the Ashe. You're going to be able to just kite him very effectively. He's not going to be able to really get on you when you have that black shield to prevent the slows, and you'll just be doing a ton of teamfight DPS, which is much more than that of what Ottawa can offer.
And speaking of Trundle, he's actually sitting on components still. Hasn't quite gotten up towards like the Knight's Vow, the Zeke's Convergence that you tend to see on him. And even then, it's not like he has the greatest of targets to ult, because when you go for the Subjugate, you want to get someone with a lot of resistances. You look at Julius. He has Cinderhulk into Triforce. Epic. He has Rylai's Crystal Scepter into the Righteous Glory. He might be your best target, but that's not as much resistance.
And he might not even be in the fight. He might be off in his side lane.
Exactly. So it's a lot is hindering the side of Ottawa, where they want to go for these typical kind of builds, the typical kind of fights with Six-Pack not having to worry about items, but he's going to be squishy, especially into short hop.
Yeah, so it looks like Western, when they played the Olaf, they were willing to ban the Trundle. But when they let the Trundle through, they realized how they can play around it with their draft, with their team composition, not really drafting anyone that the Trundle can easily exploit. This Jack's building more damage with the Trinity Force and the Cinderhulk. That's just health. He has health. He has damage. There's not much this Trundle is going to be able to do. So this is something that they played around in the draft that is finally kind of reaping their rewards now.
And then continuing just to talk about the item builds, I mean, we look at Yoken going for the typical split push Camille build with the Triforce into the Ravenous Hydra, but that means if you look at Ottawa, who's their front line now? Do they have someone they can really pinpoint and saying this guy is going to be able to absorb all the damage?
It has to be Trundle, but how long can Trundle survive against this Ashe, against this Jax, and with all the shielding? Yes, you can tank up maybe a little bit of DPS from those characters, but only if you eventually kill them. And when they have the Karma and the Morgana, they're not gonna die. So you're gonna have DPS that you have to tank up, not for just 5 or 10 seconds, but throughout an elongated teamfight situation.
Exactly. So it's honestly looking kind of dire for the side of Ottawa, where it seemed like they had a pretty good draft. Then they started the first 15 minutes of this game off very nicely, but it's just been slowly disintegrating. And now Western sitting 5,000 gold up over Ottawa. They're looking very happy for themselves. And Short Hop, where we kind of were wondering if he was going to be the guy carrying, we thought it'd be Epic, and Julius has definitely been someone to keep your eyes on, playing amazingly on this Ashe.
Absolutely, and you have to remember his 13-1-5 Jinx performance in just the last game now forced off his top 380 carries, playing Ashe and doing a great job in that 2v2. We've talked about it so much, it feels like, but it's just such a key part of this game when he's not really even the focal point of this team composition. Still putting out a standout performance is huge. And we kind of go back to this draft. If you don't put the nameplates and the team names on these compositions, it looks like Ottawa's drafted 2 fine compositions in both of these games, but they're not really accounting for the situation that they're in which that Western has shown to be the better team in these team fights. They haven't been exploitable with the early game roaming from Talia or the laning strength from the Caitlyn and the Ezreal Karma. So if that's not working, it doesn't matter how decent your composition is if it's not working. You have to adapt and find something that works very quickly here, because if you don't win this one, you got to win 3 in a row. And now there's just Western on the Baron.
Western on the Baron, but they were spotted out by that ward just outside of the pit. Here come the blue trinkets with the Weaver's Wall. They are boxed in so much damage, but here's the heals finally. Shorthoff taken out of the fight. They lose Janna, but I don't think that's something to worry about. Here comes the ultimatum on the backline. So much damage coming out, but nobody finished off just yet from Western. Throwing back Harry's Six-Pack. Somehow, despite not having Short Hop, that's a win for Western.
Right, but they will not be able to get the Baron. They are forced off of that one, but they're not forced out of the mid lane. In fact, Ottawa is forced out of their own inner turret mid. They're trying to do the blue buff right now, but they're going to lose the base. I don't know if Cymax can kite out Julius. Looks like he can for the time being, but they need to get back to this base before they lose more.
Oh, Smite goes over to Julius, so he denies the blue buff. Mid-tier 2 taken down by Western. And while sure they weren't able to take the Baron, I'd consider that a big win for Western when you're taking so many other objectives.
Right, and especially considering how it started with Short Hop falling immediately. It looked like it was just going to be run down. Jokin got that ultimatum and was just dealing a lot of damage, and you could see they barely live. Their health bars are all very, very low, and now they might get caught greeting for this Ocean Drake that is going to go over to the side of Ottawa. I don't think they're going to be able to chase down any kills, though.
I think
they're pinging the Baron.
Oh, they are pinging it, but can they take it down quick enough is the answer. They have Talia, Caitlyn, and even
double
Trundle.
Teleport. There's double teleport for the side of Western, so that is going to be pretty sketchy if they start it up, and they're pinging the flank ward right now. This could be a disaster if it doesn't go perfectly.
Massive minion wave already in the top side of the map too, so you gotta be taking this really quickly, Ottawa. You don't even have it down to 50%. Here comes the fight. Here comes the attempted steal with Epic Rating. It's a smite, but can they escape is gonna be the answer. So much into the pit with the ultimatum. Short Hop out of the fight. That is the person you need to consistently take out, but they lose Jokin, the split pusher. So that's gonna be a huge person to lose. Epic flashes in, gets out the Janna, and now they jump for Psyonix. They want to take him, get rid of him. Only Harry Sixpack will remain with the Baron. Can he escape? That's going to be the answer, the speed boost from Jamona. But it will be Trundle looking like he should be able to escape out of dodge for the time being. Counter-Strike is there. A lot of damage onto Harry Sixpack. Can he get the little blast gun is the answer. With the Black Shield, it denies the fact that Julius gets knocked back, and he gets the ace, removing the Baron and the threat from Ottawa.
If he got out with the Baron, it might have been acceptable, but being clean aced is not really where you want to be. Yes, they traded Short Hop yet again, but you don't have any Barons, and you forfeit your entire team, and now they're just pushing down mid lane. They're going to be able to get that inhibitor turret and come back next time for the inhibitor with their huge lead.
Huge lead. Sure, you don't have the Baron to kind of crack a lot of this open, but at the same time, I think Western are very confident in themselves. They don't need to have that objective under their belt in order to take down the side of Ottawa, and with an open inhibitor, they can easily march it down mid.
They sure can, but the Camille has been doing some work in these team fights, which is what you would like to see, given that it's basically the only shining light that Ottawa had. They finally transitioned it into not getting destroyed every team fight, in finding ways to make the Camille impactful. They just have to do it more, and they have to do it earlier on in the game, hopefully, if they end up going for it again. Honestly, I think the Camille is something that you might actually want to ban if you're Western for next game, because it's really the only chance that Ottawa even had in this game.
But looking at how the latter half of this game has gone for the side of Ottawa, we were praising Jokin earlier. He was 5-0-2 at one point. Now sitting 5-3-3, which means he's been 0-3-2 for the past 15 minutes of this game. Unfortunately, not able to have the same impact that he had where he was dominating the map in these team fights. Even though he helps get Short Hop, he always sacrifices his life for it.
Right, but without him, they wouldn't be getting anything. So there's also the trade-off there, where the Talia has not really been that appealing, that attractive in terms of, yes, you're offering a little bit with the Weaver's Wall, but the abilities aren't just really landing as much as they should be, and it feels like Psyonix positioning in team fights leaves a little bit to be desired when you're being jumped on.
Counter-Strike an arrow on to open backpack. They wanted to see if they can jump onto him. He will be disengaged by the Monsoon. Epic does want to jump in a little bit further. Pretty fast. Righteous Glory with Insanity Potion. He jumped out pretty low. Black Shield actually will try to see if he can save his life with Julius jumping in. Jokin not able to finish off anybody. It's Psyonix getting the kill. Weaver's Wall. Ace in the hole, but that is the stopwatch to keep Short Hop alive. He realized what was happening.
Karma Q.
Damage from that Karma. Absolutely absurd. Sure, it's traded on to Blaze, but is it going to be able to be traded onto anyone else?
What a mess.
Both go back and forth.
Oh,
this
man.
could be the inhibitor going down. Does seem that Jamona and Epic want to take this. They have the minion wave in tow. They
don't have damage.
Exactly. They're being cautious in their steps, not wanting to overstay their welcome.
Psyonix did get the trade on the Short Hop at the end. That will save their inhibitor for the time being. And a 3-for-3 fight is exactly what you're going to want if you're Ottawa. Jokin bought so much time for the team there to actually focus down Short Hop, make him burn that stopwatch, which he will no longer have available. But Caitlyn is getting her items now. She's starting to come back online. And be relevant in this game. You see Double Zeal with the Infinity Edge and the Berserker's Greaves. That Longsword could be working into the potentially a Lord Dominic's, given that there's now a lot of armor being built up by Jax and Sims. We're going to have to see what Psylocke actually goes for, because you do need to get through this front line at some point.
It's over for Short Hop. He's definitely pathing towards the Guardian's Angel, realizing that he's been the priority for Ottawa, trying to take him out, make himself very safe. But I want to see, especially coming out of Ottawa, they're able to keep these messy fights up. They've been 8,000 gold behind, yet still coming out relatively even. Even though it's been 2-3 kind of exchanges, even that is a nice benefit for Ottawa, where they're getting some more gold shoveled back into their team.
And they're finding ways to get onto Short Hop, which we thought would be very difficult to happen with the Karma and the Morgana to provide shields and a strong tank line from Singed and Jax. But it's still been happening. He's died twice immediately in the last 2 fights, and then died a 3rd time after burning the stopwatch and being focused down out at the very start of every single fight. So it's a little bit rough. You're not really having as much of the DPS over those long team fights that you would like as the Ashe.
It's definitely been what's giving Ottawa a way back into the game, and Western, I think, realized that. They just want to make sure that they can keep Ashe alive, keep Short Hop alive, especially with the build. Rapid Fire Cannon, Runon's Infinity, so much crit built up, just trying to make sure that she can
and
take
now a
out
GA.
Clowns. And exactly, the GA, just for the added safety of Short Hop.
The 4th dragon is going to go over to Western. That one's pretty free. I think Ottawa learned their lesson after that Cloud Drake not to contest anymore. They did get the Ocean when the Western side was running away very quickly, and they did force the Baron off of it too, but they got wiped. So Ottawa's overall has not had a lot of success with dragons in this series. And given that it's only Oceans and Clouds, I think they're okay with forfeiting those. They really just need to keep on getting these even fights and not allowing Western to continue. You can have a disadvantageous fight as long as Western isn't capable to push afterwards, and you keep getting more damage on this Caitlyn.
Western seem that they just want to get vision control over Ottawa's jungle. Baron about to spawn up, 35 seconds until that comes up. It's going to make it a little bit easier for them to try to duel and open up the base. They haven't been able to get towards this inhibitor that has been open for quite some time of Ottawa. Great siege, like we had mentioned before. Caitlyn and Talia can take out the minions so quickly that it's so hard for Western to actually crack open the base without it.
And the trap line is very frustrating as well. It's so hard to actually get through that gate to hit the inhibitor when you have to walk through all those traps, and there's no one really that can tank it besides Singed, and you'd like to have Singed making plays in the team.
Oh, but here comes the arrow. It lands only onto Harry's six-pack, but if they take out the jungler, it's going to be a much easier Baron for the side of Western. The TP is a little bit too late from Yokin. 4v5 situation. Western understand the priorities. They take out the jungler. Now they want to take out the Baron.
Open Backpack is going to need to have a pretty good Weaver's Wall here to actually discourage this Baron, because like you mentioned, no Smite is going to be very hard to stop if they can't isolate and split up the team with that ability.
And this is where Western makes the call. They want to go right in onto the Baron, even with the blue trinket down. They're not too worried.
Short Hop
Weaver's Wall
split.
cut off Short Hop, and this is a lot of damage coming in. They're trying to see if they can get onto Blaze, but no, it's going to be taking out the GA of Short Hop right onto the trap. The headshots rain down, and they take out Blaze as well. The Baron finally finished off by Western, but they have to escape at this part. This is where it's going all wiry for Western. Julius is being focused, shoving back Epic, but he's pretty tanky. Same with Julius, jumping forward with the ace in the hole. Randowins does not slow down Yokin as he slices down another kill.
They get 3 for the Baron, and they might be able to push this inner turret. These are pretty long death timers. It's going to be 20 on Blaze Nova, 25 on Short Hop, and 40 on Julius. They can at least get this inner turret. However, there are still 2 Barons left on Chimona and Epic. They will have to worry about those, but you'd much rather be on the Karma than really the Singed, who can just split. What the? That damage was ridiculous!
Snipering out Backpack. Wow. That was absurd, and that might have just saved Western, who were getting sieged pretty easily. Wow. That's all I can say at this moment.
That's with Athene's Unholy Grail and an Ardent Sensor. Yes, you're 7-1 and 9, but so much supportive actually items on the Karma, but you still have what is that, 493 AP right now. So that Mantra Q is hitting like a truck on someone like Open Backpack who has no MR built.
And without the Talia, that's one of your key wave clear tools. Baron's still on Epic and Chimona. They can easily march down mid to try to take out this inhibitor. And the snipe trying to go on to Psionics.
So
Look at the damage from the Monster Q. Once again hitting the target perfectly. And Harry Backpack had to flash out, but he got locked up by the root. Will look at the wall to try to see if it can cut out. Only cuts out Short Hop, who went on quite a journey that way, but won't actually get any kills.
Man, so they do get the inhibitor, and now both summoners are down for Psionics. Short Hop holds on to both of his, and as well as Chimona has the flash as well. So in the summoner department, I think Western is going to be quite happy with having those on their AD carry. They also have double teleport advantage over Yokin, so they can make something happen with that. As you can see, their waves are not in the greatest spot at the current moment, so using those teleports to kind of add additional pressure on the map could help a lot, especially now that they have that inhibitor down in the mid lane.
But we look over, Baron pretty far through for Epic and Chimona. Still has about, I'd say, 40 seconds left on that until it expires, so doubtful there's going to be too many more plays set up by Western. Instead, they might have to reset the map a little bit, get the minion wave priority, and then wait until these key objectives spawn up. Elder comes up in about a minute.
Right, these Barons really haven't been seeing that much gotten off of them. There was one that resulted in a clean wipe for Western, and this other one just resulted in an inhibitor 3. So they're having to wait a very long time for the Baron to actually respawn on the map. So that's why there hasn't been that much base broken for either side, really. You still see only 3 turrets taken for the side of Ottawa. They've tried to push this inner, but there hasn't been a lot they can do.
Julius taking a little bit of poke coming in from Open Backpack. But with the Baron still there for Epic in the top side, he's fighting with Yokin. First time I've seen the Sins have a level advantage over the Camille. It's forcing a split up of the map and maybe giving a little bit more of the priority in the bot lane towards the side of Western, as they have to worry about the seeds, the trap line of Psionics.
And there's a 10,000 gold deficit for Ottawa here, but they're not playing like it, and it doesn't really feel like it, because in the straight up 5v5 when everyone is alive, Western haven't been able to get anything, really. That trap line has just held the mid lane so strong. When they did eventually get the inhibitor, they're not being able to push any of these side waves in either. But now that the Elder is spawning, forcing Ottawa out of their base to actually contest these objectives has been where Western has found their advantages.
I almost thought for a second that Ottawa were going to try to start it up for a sec.
No.
Yeah, I know. They started pathing there. I'm like, well, no, don't do that yet. You gotta be careful. You're not that close in gold. You can easily get wiped if you're the ones to start up the objective.
And Western's going to be the one to start it, but they have both carries trying to clear this mid wave. Open Backpack needs to be in a position where he can use the Weaver's Wall to cut off Short Hop, because that's how they're killing him.
Lands on the 6-pack. They go for the engage into the arrow, but they get the cleanse out of him. Yokin locked up by the counter strike, but a lot of damage has gone back and forth. Julius, with massive amounts of shield, is still alive. The Weaver's Wall did little to discourage. It's down to less than 50%. Seismic shove onto Julius, but he has to get healed up. Redemption will give him a little bit more life, a little bit more pep. They finally go down, and here comes Yokin into the backline with the ultimate. But he's ripped apart. Only needs one more crit to rain down. Take him out. Flash, flash, flash. Doesn't matter, because people are going down left and right. 2 kills. They get a 3rd kill for Western. Elder Drake already there.
Double teleport
into the base. They want to go for the end.
They have double teleport. They can probably do it. It's just Psionics and Open Backpack that have to make a hero play. Digital Lotus did so much stalling, but so did Julius with the stopwatch in that fight. And with the great smite from Julius coming out, they're going to flip Open Backpack into their team.
Oh, there's not really much he can do either. He's easily taken out of the fight. This is going to be the Nexus Towers game 2. Look in the way of Western. They look to go for a clean sweep as they will jump up to 2-0 in the Eastern Finals.
And that game was so much more sloppy, throws back and forth. But in the end, Western more consistently came out with the advantages. 7-1-13 for the Karma, by the way. Very quietly had an extremely good game, very consistent, not really ever get caught out. It was just, as I mentioned, a consistent force in bringing Western to this victory.
But still, this was a very messy fight. You already mentioned that before, that Western